Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Everybody! One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright.
What's up, everybody? You're watching / listening to the Command Zone podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jimmy Wong.
How's it? It's Josh Lee Kwai. We are coming together today
To talk about Meld.
Yeah, because that's 2 cards.
Isn't it like the unset thing too? Whatever that cranking gizmos? No, this is just Meld today. Very simple mechanic.
I'm pretty sure they do have one heart, right? Because there's one Mishra and one Urza when it turns in, one Titania when it becomes the Meld thing. So
there is a Might Stone and a Weak Stone, so there's 2 hearts there, I suppose.
Are they hearts exactly?
I don't know. There's something. All right, Brothers War is bringing back a really interesting mechanic called Meld. We haven't seen this since Eldritch Moon, when rats and things were turning into crazy Eldritch and horror things. But now we've got 3 potentials that could be your commander, and that's actually upwards of what, like 9 total cards? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 9 cards we have to talk about today because there's 2 front side cards that then meld into a
backside.
3rd card on the backside. Yeah. We had, what was it, Bruna and Gisela.
Oh, yeah.
They made Bruzella before. That was like the one legendary creature that existed that you could have in your command zone that had meld. But now we got 3 more, so cool stuff. We're going to go through all of the different synergies and combos for all of these commanders and cards. But first, of course, we got to talk about our sponsors. If you want to get your hands on any of the cards from the Brothers War, the Commander products, or if you still need Infinity, Dominaria United,
don't do this to
Warhammer
me, Josh.
40K, because that's where I am. I need all of it. I have it caught up from like the last 2 months.
My suggestion, Warhammer. That's the place.
Warhammer.
There are some
Dominaria United have a lot of sweet stuff, and we had to like speed through it because so much has come out. So if you want to get your hands on that stuff, of course, cardkingdom.com/command. That's our affiliate link. That's the best place to go to get your Magic products, singles, anything at all. Your Magic players, you're going to buy Magic cards. You may as well use our affiliate link when you do it because it'll be simultaneously supporting the content you enjoy. And of course, Card Kingdom really is the best in the business, the best e-commerce retailer to find Magic product because they just have the highest quality of service. The thing we talk about every time with Card Kingdom, and we talk about it because it's true, they are the fastest at shipping you your cards. They will get it to you super fast. In fact, when we were doing Game Nights Live at Magic 30, this is the best endorsement I can give them because we were a few days away from getting on the plane to go to Vegas and we needed some cards because we changed the deck slightly.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We ordered it from Card Kingdom as regular consumers, knowing they were the only place that we trusted to get it into our hands in time to then get on the plane to Vegas and have it ready for our show.
Yeah, and you could choose even faster shipping options too. So it's all there.
Which we did, but literally we put in the order. We didn't tell them. We just let it go and literally got the confirmation email like an hour and a half later saying it has shipped. It is in the mail.
Nice.
Yeah. So cardkingdom.com/command. They really have the highest level of service. We can't recommend them highly enough.
They also have a bunch of cards.
Yeah,
that's
they
important.
have a huge inventory. They have everything you need. Yeah.
All right, when you get those cards, very easy. Put them into an Ultra Pro sleeve or in just a deck box. In fact, I think Ultra Pro has some of the best deck boxes ever. They invented the classic look and design, and it has served them quite well over the many years. I still use them today, and it's great to carry individual decks as well as multiple decks. We saw so many people toting around Ultra Pro bags at Magic 30. Obviously, it's great to see because it means it works, and it means they're trusting it to bring their cards to events. And that means you can trust it to bring it to stuff like your LGS as well. You can go to ultrapro.com/command. They just had like a 30% off sale, something crazy. They had a 50% off sale the other week too. Obviously, when these notifications come in, I instantly go because it sells out pretty quickly, the stuff they're trying to get rid of. But it's a great way to pick up stuff at a great price, and you're supporting the show when you do so.
Yeah, you can often just get like 5 or 6 binders for like 50% off. Like, that was pretty great deals. Yeah.
And you only do it a couple of times, and you're set, by the way. It's not like you're constantly doing it, right? But when you do, you can support the show, ultrapro.com/command.
Yep. And then, of course, the final way to support all of our content is directly if you go to patreon.com/commandzone. You get all kinds of cool perks as patrons. We play Spell Table with our patrons every single week. You also get access.
Well, not us. Someone. And Josh and I are once a month.
Jimmy and
that would be crazy. I can't handle that.
We don't have enough time personally to play every single week, but we do at least 1 week a month, each of us. And then other members of our team like Lady Danger, Jake, Murph, Craig, people you know from our content, they also play. So there is someone playing at least once every single week. We have like a 3-hour window that we play with our patrons. So if you want to get in games with us or anybody on our team, patreon.com/commandzone. And of course, another perk is we shout out one lucky patron every single episode. And this episode is dedicated to
Brian Promsa.
Brian, you rock.
I know a lot of good people named Brian.
There's two A's in there, and I'm not sure.
It's cool. I think it's right.
Yeah, in Hawaiian it'd be pra'a.
Oh, is the best Scrabble word because it means lava in Hawaii. In Hawaiian,
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, it's really bad because you lose two vowels just to make a really dumb. Well, it's not a dumb word. Sorry. Just.
Are you like an old Words with Friends player?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I was never good at it.
I just loved it when I was like, oh, you didn't see ox, did you? Like stuff like that. You can just do some crazy things. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Meld Commanders, Jimmy, stay on target.
Yeah.
All right.
Stay on target. Okay. So there are a lot of things to cover before we get into Meld, because it's good to get sort of a refresher on what Meld is and how it actually works, because I think a lot of people will want to build these commanders. I'm pretty sure I want to make the Mishra one, as it looks very, very cool. So we need to understand how Meld works, and there's a few topics we'll cover here before we dive into the cards.
Yeah, we want to go over the rules because there are some corner cases and some stuff that might be confusing to people. And like you said, melding has got to be one of the cooler things you can do in Magic. You take two cards and you make one super card out of it.
Yeah, it's very cool. And tapping to attack to kill with that thing is very, very satisfying.
But it presents a lot of situations where you go, wait a minute, how does that work? Just because, it's pretty unique. There's only a few cards that do it. Okay, so let's talk about some Meld rules here. The first question that a lot of people ask is, how does Meld work with commander damage?
Well, commander damage is always tied to the physical card itself. So in this case, when we have a card like Mishra, it's a creature on one side and obviously a mega creature on the back. That card is cumulative when it counts up the combat damage from that card itself as well as the melded version.
Yeah, so commanderness is tied to the physical card. So if Jimmy's commander, even if it got manifested or morphed or turned over in some way,
or taken by someone else, right?
Yeah. It would still deal commander damage and still track it to that card. So if Jimmy hits me for 7 with his commander, and then somehow it got stolen by somebody else and they hit me, that next damage would be added to the original 7 he did.
Nice.
Because again, commanderness is tied to the card. So because these meld cards, part of the card is made up of that original commander card, then when that card deals commander damage, it will count as the same as like the front side.
Yeah, it's like the DNA of the card.
Yeah, so it is cumulative. It does add up with, it's not like you track the meld side separately from the other side.
Yeah.
Or that the meld side doesn't do commander damage. They both do commander damage and they add up together.
Yeah, now we have to think about cards as both the front and back side, but it's the same card. If you picked it up, it's the same card.
Okay. So how does, we should say, similarly, the melded creature will count as your commander for cards that care about your commander. So things like Deflecting Swat, Fierce Guardianship, Bastion Protector.
Yeah.
So it still counts as your commander, even though it's sort of a different form of your commander.
Yep. Same card, once again.
All right, how does Meld work with the command zone?
So if a melded creature you have it's 2 cards in one, and someone kills it, it gets bounced, whatever happens, what happens to the card? Well, the card that is the commander card still follows the same rules. So if it goes anywhere else, it leaves the battlefield, it goes to your hand, it goes to your graveyard, it goes to exile. You can choose to place it into the command zone, of course, after it hits that appropriate zone. Right.
It used to be a replacement effect, but it's not anymore. So now it would, let's say they destroy it.
Yep.
The meld card consists of 2 cards. So both those cards would go to the graveyard. And
the zone it's supposed to go to as a result of the effect that's targeting it.
Right. So if they destroy it, it'll go to the graveyard. And then you say, the commander card, I now want to put in the command zone. And like Jimmy said, that can work if it would go to exile, if it would bounce to your hand. Any of the zone changes that would normally allow you to put the commander into the command zone, you can. It doesn't affect the other card, though, that's part of the meld. That card will just go to the zone it's supposed to. It's not like something where, like, both of them can't go, so it doesn't. Because actually, technically, the commander does go there for a quick second before you.
Yeah. The cards split up, basically, if you ever do anything to a melded commander.
All right. How does meld work with commander tax?
Same way. The commander tax is not applied to the other card that the card melds with. It's an artifact, it's a land, whatever. It just applies again to the actual commander card itself, and the card will get unmelded, go back to the command zone, whatever, and then you got to pay the appropriate tax.
Yeah, commander tax doesn't actually care about any of the meld stuff. All it asks is when you go to cast it from your command zone, how many times have you cast your commander from the command zone this game?
Yeah.
So it doesn't care how it got into the command zone or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay.
How does it work? Oh, Josh. Well, no.
That was a bad throw.
It landed on the table. It's rare when it happens. Well, I tried to do
That
that.
seemed like you did it on purpose. Very rare.
Very rare. Did it land in the back? It did. It got wedged underneath the
Even
salt.
more rare.
This is why you have to watch the video version.
All right.
So
How does Meld work with cloning or copying?
Okay, so if I have a clone or a copy of my commander, it's another card that's cloning it, or it's a token copy, and you try to meld it, well, it's not going to work because that card doesn't have a back. It doesn't that has the meld properties. So it's going to, let's say, the cards get exiled when you meld them together, and then it says return in the battlefield melded. That part won't happen, but the exile part will, because they'll say, oh, you have this card too? Great, exile them and meld them. But when it gets exiled, the version that wasn't the real version just disappears.
Yeah, so
Forever.
you have to have the two proper...
Literally forever. It goes
Yeah, you
away.
have to have the proper cards to bring back in the meld form.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you have a clone of your commander and then meet the other criteria, Mishra and the Dragon Engine, I guess, could work here.
They go to combat.
Yeah, let's say you clone Mishra somehow, and you've got a clone sitting there that's not your actual commander, and then you've got the Dragon Engine, and you meet the criteria, and you go to meld it. It'll go into exile, and they'll say, wait, this clone is not the correct card to be bringing back, and it'll just say, oh, well, then everything stays in exile. Sorry.
Yep.
So you really don't want to clone the non-melded sides. However, the melded thing is considered a single permanent, just made up of two cards.
Yeah, you're right. It's just bigger.
So that you can clone. So if you had a clone that gets around the legendary rule or some other way to get around the legendary rule,
Many ways.
it's a very good idea to clone the melded side, because the melded side is very powerful.
Yep. Yeah. If it's a creature, you can clone it that way. If it's a planeswalker, you obviously have to use a card that can clone the planeswalker. But yeah, you can clone it. It's just like a smaller version of it after.
Yeah, I mean, it's physically smaller,
Yeah.
but it's equally as large in size,
And importance.
as far as a game piece.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's not a commander, though.
Oh, that's a good point, because it isn't. Yeah, that's
There you go.
that's a good point.
So it's not equally as important. Haha. All right, so what is the mana value then of a melded creature? Because you'll notice on the other side, it doesn't actually have a mana count on the top right because you can't cast it like that.
Yeah, so if you look at the melded Mishra, which I think is Lost to Phyrexia is what it's called, there's no casting cost on the top right corner. So what about cards that refer to the mana value of creatures or whatever or permanents you've got or anything like that? The melded creature actually has the mana value of the total what if you added together
combined value.
Combined value, there it is. Combined value of the back sides. So
Front sides.
the front sides. Jeez Louise. So Mishra and the Dragon Engine, they meld into Mishra Lost to Phyrexia. So the mana value of Mishra and the Dragon Engine would be 7.
4 plus 3.
However, if you copy or clone the melded creature, there is no backside to that card, and its mana value would be 0.
Nice. That makes sense.
Okay, hopefully everybody kept up with all that.
And it should all make sense, too. None of this is breaking rules in any fundamental ways or doing something weird.
It's not like Mutate. That's for sure.
I don't want to talk about Mutate. It's like I put Mutate into my brain, and then I quickly found a way to get it out of my brain.
It's just too much. Like, I remember certain things, but then stuff comes up where you're like, oh, I forget how that part of it works. Yeah, I don't know.
You just have to trust that your intuition is going to take you down the right path with magic rules a lot of the time. That's also where you go wrong. Okay, moving on.
All right, so let's talk about Mishra, claimed by Gix, first of all. And we're going to talk about all the meld stuff around this one card. And we should mention, I'm not sure if this episode is going to come out before or after Game Nights. I think it's before.
Yeah, it'll be a preview here.
So this is going to be the deck that the Professor is playing in the Brothers War episode of Game Nights.
Hold the phone. You mean the Professors in Game Nights? I'm more excited about that.
From Tellurian Community College, many Magic the Gathering players asked the question, when is the Professor going to be on Game Nights again? Well, it's either very soon or already happened at the time you're watching this.
Yeah.
Could be either one.
Yeah, he was on tenure for a little bit, and he came down to visit and decided to play. And we're like, thank you so much, Prof, for your time.
All right, so this is a pretty cool card. Let me read it real quick. It is 2, a black and a red for a 3/5, a Phyrexian Human Artificer, legendary creature, of course. When you attack, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. If Mishra, claimed by Gix, and a creature named Phyrexian Dragon Engine are attacking, and you both own and control them, exile them, then meld them into Mishra Lost to Phyrexia, it enters the battlefield tapped and attacking.
Okay.
Now we are going to show Mishra and talk about it, the melded side later.
Yeah.
Because it's too hard to cover this if we're jumping back and forth. So let's talk about the front side of Mishra claimed by Gix, which basically means the part of it before we talk about the melding stuff. So if you're attacking with, your opponents lose X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures you control.
And we're going to follow that pattern for all 3 of the melded creatures this time around. So it's going to be the first, the creature card that becomes something, the card that activates it as the meld, basically, and then them together. So starting off with Mishra claimed by Gix, he is someone that cares about attacking.
With a lot of creatures.
With a lot of creatures. It reminds me a little bit of the black-white Timna.
Right.
As well. It's got a little bit of the Timna vibes.
It doesn't draw you cards, unfortunately.
Unfortunately not.
It does make everybody lose life.
Yeah,
and you gain life.
And there are a lot of cards that help Mishra get powered up. This is the kind of deck that you want to play cards like Bitter Blossom, Loyal Apprentice, and Tilinali's Summoner are all very, very good because they basically attack and they don't attack, sorry, they'll give you tokens to attack with every single turn.
Yeah, and this seems like if you're building around the front side of Mishra, it is a go wide. You want a lot of creatures. That's how you basically take advantage of that ability.
Yeah.
And it can add up pretty quickly if you're attacking with 6 or 7 creatures. Not only are those creatures probably getting through and doing damage, but you're also making all of your opponents lose this life whenever you attack with them. So it's like I attack with 6 creatures, and those 6 creatures, just when they attack, deal like 18 right off the bat.
And you gain 6.
And you gain it 6 too as well, yeah.
And you'll find on the other side that you do want to make a lot of creatures for this deck. So obviously the front side synergizes with the back here.
Yeah, so it really is like assemble an army, a token army probably. You're looking at... I like how you put Handwear Garrison on here because it also is a meld.
Yeah, you can play both parts of it. You can play Handwear Battlements, which has its whole... We're not going to read it, but you can. It's a land and a creature, and you can basically turn them into a thing called Writhing Township. Handwear the Writhing Township is pretty sweet.
Also, part of that meld combination makes tokens, which is right along your strategy. Yep. So it's not like a stretch, like you're playing it and it doesn't synergize. It actually does.
Yeah. Now, a card like Tempt with Vengeance is one I keep wanting to play and do really well with. I put this in my Marnius the Red deck. Magnus the Red, sorry, not Marnius. I was thinking Marnius Calgar. It's a Tempting Offer deck. Do you take Tempting Offers, Josh?
Never.
This allows you to put X 1/1 red elemental creature tokens on the battlefield. It's X and a red. And then each opponent chooses to do that. And if they do, then you do the same thing again.
I think it's going to be really hard if you're playing Mishra to get anyone to do that because they're also just like, well...
What if they're a deck that really wants tokens, though? Is it worth it to run a card like this in the off chance that the person will be like, yeah, why not?
I don't think so. Because you'd have to have a lot of haste or something to really take advantage of it. But then
the tokens do have haste, by the way.
There's no way they're giving it to you. That seems nuts.
Yeah,
because it's just they're probably going to die. Like you're going to be like X is equal to 7. Do you want to give me 7 more? So I have 14. You're going to no. We're going to die.
Well, I'm the kind of person that'll play it and hope that it
even
works
just
out.
Red and X is pretty good though. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, Red and X is fine because you just get 5, and if on the off chance, I think you actually end up casting this for like 2 or 3 early turns. See if one person's like, yeah, sure, I'll take 2 creatures.
You have a better chance if it's small and it's early that you're going to actually get them to take the offer. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But then that's a worse chance that it is actually helping them. Like they have an Ashnod's Altar or something you don't know about. And you're like, sweet, I did 3 extra damage to you. And they're like, cool. I have 15 mana this turn because of you. Thank you.
It's true.
Yeah.
Good board wipe protection, though. Rise of the Dreadmarn. 2 in a black. You create X 2/2 black zombie berserkers, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn. And you can foretell it for just a black mana. So 2 mana and then a black mana later. It's an instant. So you do get to buy back some regular creatures if they kill your, Loyal Apprentice or just board wipe because you're going to have some wild things going on.
Yeah, there's definitely the type of deck that kind of gets big and scary and people want to take it out. And I like that because red and black aren't great at like protecting their entire board in this way.
Yeah, or rebuilding.
White's really good. Green has like Heroic Intervention. So this is sort of a nice tool you can have in your toolbox. And 1 black mana is easy to keep up and nobody will see that coming.
No, I don't think I've seen this cast, but when it does, it will do a lot of work.
All right, attack is the next category. This is an attack trigger. Mm-hmm. And when you have an attack trigger, well, what's good to do?
You got to attack a bunch.
Attack more often. Hooray. Attack more. Get extra combat steps.
And if you do meld this thing, then attacking with it multiple times is a pretty strong way to win the game.
It's even better than the front side of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some good extra combat? We talk about these cards all the time, but let's just list
I love
down.
myself Aggravated Assault. It's a repeatable version of attack. If you have 5 mana to sink into it, you get an extra combat step. You can also play it early. And sometimes people just let it sit there because you haven't done it yet. And it costs a lot. But when you do eventually do it, it's a big time deal.
Yeah, I find that the next card, Morag, Fury of Akum, is more useful than Aggravated Assault and often does more, just because you get the extra combat for a cheaper amount of mana.
Yeah, you just have to play a land.
Yeah.
But it is a 6 mana investment up front, and this like along with the Tali, is an instant, you got to get rid of this thing because it's nuts. Because it will happen the same turn if you save your land drop.
It really does synergize, though, with the go wide part of the strategy because it actually gives a bump to your creatures.
Well, that's right. They get +1/+1.
So if you've got 6 or 7, that's can be a lot of added power. And then you attack a second time, and it's like they get the pump a second time, so they go from 1/1s to 2/1s to 3/1s by that second attack, so that's pretty good.
You also have Combat Celebrant and Karlach Fury of Avernus. They both basically do the same thing. They allow you to have an additional combat step afterwards.
I like Karlach a lot better than Combat Celebrant because
Karlach can do it every time.
And Karlach, whenever you attack, Karlach doesn't have to attack, but Combat Celebrant does have to attack, which makes it harder. You need haste already. So.
Yeah, it's also a 4/1.
Yeah, it's going to die.
Okay, life drain payoff. Obviously, you're going to be, I mean, like if you attack twice and you have 6 creatures, you're getting 12-ish life. Maybe you lose one. You're just getting like 10 or 11 life. Yeah, who cares? You don't mind tapping out. So you do actually, you're fine using your life for other things, or you're fine also just having, that damage dealt and using that to your ability. So Neheb the Eternal is obvious in this deck, for me at least, because it's just so
You're going to get so much mana. So if you attack with like 4 creatures, and I like this because Neheb doesn't have to, you can play it the turn this happens, right? Neheb doesn't care if it dealt the damage. Just like, at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you add a red mana to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. So if you have 3 or 4 creatures and Mishra, and you just play Neheb, attack, that could be 15 damage or 15 life lost by your opponent. You get 15 red mana.
Yeah, and then if they deal damage, you get even more.
It's Mana Geyser-ish, yeah.
Yeah, and then you cast your X and a red token spell, and then you play your Aggravated Assault and go again.
I was going to say, you still need one more step there, yeah.
This one, Florian Voldaren Scion, you played it on game nights. It's a pretty cool card.
Yeah, so if you don't recall, I made a Dragon's Approach deck with this. He's a 3/3 with first strike, but it says at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. You exile one of those cards and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and then you may play the exiled card this turn. So again, in the Neheb scenario, you would look at the top 15 cards of your library and choose one. That's like tutoring at that point.
You kind of need to, by the way, in this deck, because if you are trying to go the meld plan, you do need to find a second piece. So Florian's very good in that regard. And then you have a couple of life drain payoffs with Witch of the Moors and Vane Witch Coven. These are both ways for you to basically, when you gain life, you get to either pay mana with Vane Witch Coven or wait till your end step, and you return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Veto, Throne of the Dusk Rose is another interesting way to, every time you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, just close the door a little faster. But these are just a few payoffs. I think you just choose one that you want. If you're super creature heavy, then you want to get the creature ones. If you're super token heavy, maybe go veto to try and kill people faster.
Yeah. That's going to add up really fast. I think will be quite effective.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other part of the meld combination, which is Phyrexian Dragon Engine.
I shall read it. It's 3 mana for an artifact creature, Phyrexian Dragon, obviously. It's a 2/2 with double strike. When Phyrexian Dragon Engine enters the battlefield from your hand, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards.
How's it going to enter the battlefield from the graveyard, Jimmy?
No, well, when you meld it.
No. Its other ability.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. It's got Unearth on it. Sorry, 3 red.
I was teeing you up.
I was like, Josh, I haven't finished reading the card. Now I know why. 3 red Unearth. This allows you to take it out of your graveyard, and that way you discard your hand, draw 3 cards. Otherwise, it's just a 3 mana 2/2 double strike,
which is still pretty good.
Yeah, sure.
It's not the worst card, but yeah, the Unearth allows you to get it out of the graveyard, gives it haste, and then at the end of turn, you will have to sacrifice it. Yeah, I think it gets exiled if it leaves the battlefield too. So you can't do that over and over again. You really want to Unearth and then meld.
Yeah.
Because then it will get melded. It'll get exiled from the meld, come back as the melded creature. And now if the melded creature dies, it'll go back to your graveyard. So you didn't get the exile clause from the Unearth. But if you just Unearth and there's no meld going on, you're going to lose it for the rest of the game. It'll get exiled and now you can't meld anymore.
Yeah.
So just be careful about that.
It is nice that you have Unearth just so you can bring it back. And then when it, by the way, flips into the melded version, it no longer has the Unearth clause on it. So then when it dies, it will go back to the graveyard.
Right.
So that period of time is the most crucial for this deck and to meld.
Well, and the great thing about the Unearth is that it allows you a lot more ways to find this card so you can meld. Obviously, you're in black, so you have like things like Demonic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor, so it's pretty easy to find this and put it into your hand that way. But it also opens up all these things like Entomb, Buried Alive, stuff that allows you to search your library for a creature and put it into the graveyard. And because of that Unearth is
I think you want
maybe
to.
better because it gives it haste.
Yeah, you don't need to wait a turn because the moment you play Phyrexian Dragon Engine and have Mishra out, no one's going to be like, oh, that's fine.
They're going to be like, we've been waiting for this moment and we're going to kill it now.
Yeah.
But if you were to entomb it, that's an instant speed thing, right?
Yeah.
So Mishra's out. They're like, okay, well, until we see the Dragon Engine, it's not that scary. And on your end, so you go entomb it into my graveyard, and they're like, oh crap! And you're like, unearth it. It's got haste, attack, and they're like, ah. Unless they were holding up the removal,
instant speed removal for that very moment.
Yeah. So that I think is your best chance to meld for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Unmarked Grave is 1 in the black, and it puts a non-legendary card into your graveyard. It's a sorcery, but that's 2 mana, so you only need 7 mana now, right, to play that and unearth this card in the same turn.
Yep. And it is also an artifact.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you get to do all the artifact shenanigans that get it into your graveyard as well. So something like Goblin Engineer would work.
Yeah.
To just as a tutor to get it into there. It could also
you can bring it back too.
Bring it back, but I think you want to bring it back with Unearth because of the haste.
You can even use the card Unearth that just brings a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. But then you need to be able to give it haste. Not a problem. You're in black-red. We all know anger exists. Yada yada. Good stuff.
Yeah, you can always entomb for anger.
Yeah, but in terms of excavating the engine, which is our next topic here, Unearth is a great way to do that. If you don't want to use the other ability, you're afraid, you know someone has removal, and or you can have a way to give it haste or whatever. Underworld Breach obviously can do it as well. You're in black-red. You kind of need the help, I think, to get as much card value as you can.
I mean, Underworld Breach is just a very good card, so I think it's not going to hurt your deck to have it.
Yeah, now keep in mind that if you are going the full-on token route, you're not going to put as many creatures or things into the graveyard as well, so just keep that in mind. Because you can I've had games where I'm like, I've made 10 tokens. My graveyard should be, it's very empty. You kind of trick
Well, yeah, I think
mentally.
it depends. If you're playing stuff that makes tokens and the card that you played, like what was the Tempting Offer one?
Oh, yeah, Tempting Offer.
Well, that is going to go to the graveyard, but it made you the token, so it can
you actually get a little value.
And with Thrill of Possibilities and Faithless Looting and things like that, I feel like,
point.
yeah, those are cards you're going to want because you really do want to dump Phyrexian Dragon Engine into your graveyard sometimes, even if it's in your hand already.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I think that, all that stuff really works together well, and I think we would normally say, like, the meld, like, if you've played against a Brazilla deck, it never happens. Like,
no.
I've seen that happen, like, once ever.
Well, or when it happens, it dies instantly.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, it's going to be one creature. This Path to Exile looks much better now.
But this feels like a thing that your deck will be able to do rather consistently. You will meld this card just because of the way that Phyrexian Dragon Engine lines up with the tutoring, the sort of the self-mill or the rummaging that Rakdos has, as well as the unearth.
Yep. You can even play the original Mishra from the main set, which is a total... Actually, both cards are in the main set. Mishra, Tamer of Makfawa gives...
This is like the younger Mishra.
Yeah, but it gives each artifact card in your graveyard unearth 1 a black and a red, so now you're saving 2 mana on the exchange.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and also as permanents, you have control, have ward, sacrifice a permanent.
That's a little protection. I mean, that is a real thing.
Oh, yeah. If it's early game, I don't know if I'm going to get rid of a land or something just to kill your creature.
Yeah, that sucks if you're like, I don't want you to meld, but I also don't want to sacrifice a permanent.
Yeah. Convergence of Dominion's a new Warhammer 40k card. We talked about this a bit in the deck. It also went off in the Game Nights episode where we played the Warhammer decks because it allows you to, as long as you have your control your commander, activate abilities of cards in your graveyard cost 2 less to activate. You can't reduce it to less than 1, and then you can have it mill yourself as well for 3 mana.
It's like training grounds for abilities in your graveyard. So it would make the Unearth, again, 3 mana, right?
Yeah, basically the same as Mishra there.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
You know what else is good?
What's good?
Or sorry, you know what else is wheelie good?
Wheelie good?
You know what's wheelie good?
It's probably wheels.
Yeah, well, the Dragon Engine, it's easy to forget, but it is a wheel.
Yeah, it allows you to
like,
discard draw 3 right then, right?
Yeah, so it also has like good value sort of staple to it. It's not only good as a meld piece.
Yep.
So
even if you cast Unearth to bring it back, the spell Unearth, it will do the meld thing because it's entering the graveyard or the battlefield from the graveyard.
Yeah, so you can have some discard synergy with it. Things like Bone Miser, Phyrexian Reclamation seems really good with it.
Yep. If you want to play some Madness cards, Terminal Agony is a nice cheap removal spell. Same with Big Game Hunter.
Under the floorboards or from under the floorboards.
Yeah, make some tokens.
Yeah, so that synergizes with the Mishra part of it.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think a big part of this deck is being able to recover from a board wipe. And if you're like, cool, I have nothing on the board, but I just drew this from under the floorboards or whatever, unearth it, discard it, cast it, make some creatures, draw some cards, get right back into it, and keep going, and make some tokens.
Yep. Okay. This is all cool, but let's talk about the real cool part.
The melded version. It's Mishra lost to Phyrexia.
So when the Dragon Engine and Mishra meld, this is what they become, and there's a lot of text on it, because turns out You can fit a lot of text when the card is made of 2 cards.
Yeah, we'll find that out about each of these meld cards, actually. So this is on 2 cards. It's Mishra Lost to Phyrexia. It's a legendary artifact creature, Phyrexian Artificer. That's a 9/9.
And can do everything.
Yeah, so when it enters the battlefield or attacks, so again, when you meld it, it will be entering the battlefield tapped and attacking.
So you only get the 1 trigger because it's entering the battlefield already tapped and attacking. So you don't get the attack trigger, but you get the ETB trigger there, Yep.
You get to choose 3 of the following 6 things.
3.
The first one is target opponent discards 2 cards. The second one is Mishra deals 3 damage to any target. The third one is destroy target artifact or planeswalker. The fourth one is creatures you control gain menace and trample until end of turn. The fifth one is creatures you don't control get -1/-1 until end of turn. And the sixth one is create 2 tapped Power Stone tokens. These are tokens that allow you to tap for 1 colorless mana, but you cannot use it to cast a non-artifact spell.
You can activate abilities with it.
Yeah.
But
And
you
cast
can't-
artifacts.
And cast artifacts, yep.
But I don't know if you're choosing that one too often.
I've never seen anyone choose that one yet.
Yeah, because I've only seen it played once. And that was not the option. That was good.
Wait, we don't want to spoil anything.
True.
But yeah.
Well, then I haven't played another Mishra Lost Phyrexia.
I've seen this deck a couple of times because we did test it a few times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I only saw it one time at game nights, and I will say it is definitely
It melded,
powerhouse.
and that happened, yeah.
It melded, yeah.
It sometimes will meld multiple times in a game. And I've still never seen anybody pick the Power Stone option. The -1/-1 is surprisingly relevant. It often kills like a bunch of stuff and reduces the ability to block.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So that I'd say that one actually happens quite often. The
And then-
destroy an artifact happens all the time.
Creatures having menace and trample.
That's
and
the
you have a
win
big-
con.
Yeah, for sure. Because how are you going to block? Sure, I'll block 2 things. How are you going to block 6 things? 7 things.
And remember, Mishra attacked. That had to happen for this meld to sort of start.
Mm-hmm.
And so probably attacked with a number of other creatures. You already did that loss of life for your opponents. Then the meld creature comes in and goes, boom, by the way, all those creatures that are attacking now have menace and trample.
Yeah.
And you're in real trouble there. And then if they give all your creatures -1/-1, you can often just be dead because there's no more blocks that will save you because of the trample and the menace. You're like, well, I don't even have enough toughness to live, and I don't have enough blockers to stop everything. Yeah. So that is a real good finishing move.
And keep in mind, when you're attacking, you don't have to attack everyone. You can attack just one person and be like, cool, I'm just going to kill their 1 blocker with a 3 damage to any target and make them discard 2 cards. Right? You don't have to spread out the attackers. You can decide, I can't attack those other 2 people, but I know I can this person because I'm just going to choose these 2 abilities too. So I would just, if you're going to the turn that you're going to meld Mishra, know what the backside says. So when you make your initial attack, you're like, cool, I'm doing this for a reason.
Yeah.
That'll
It's
help you.
very powerful. All the different modes are useful in different situations. So it generally tends to be like you meld Mishra and then you have like the world's your oyster. You're like, well, I could just kill a whole ton of creatures, make it impossible for you to block.
Yeah.
I can get rid of important things like the artifacts and things like that.
And if you have multiple combats, now you're giving each creature -2/-2 effectively. If you're doing it again, right?
Yeah, if you have a Morag and a Mishra, it's kind of over.
Yeah, anything that just says go again, because
you're
going once was already bad enough. Now, keep in mind the creature itself, Mishra, doesn't have haste, so you have to have one of those extra combat steps that says it gains haste, or something gives that, again, Mishra the ability to have haste.
Yeah.
Because when it enters the battlefield, it's tapped and attacking, and I think when they designed this, they're like, they're not going to do it twice. They got to go their next turn and untap it and do it again then. But, Commander, obviously, we want to do some crazy things.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about how to best take advantage once you've melded.
What?
In many ways.
What do you mean? We did. You just kill them.
In many ways.
Conversation's over.
Once you've melded, congratulations. You've accomplished your goal. It doesn't always end the game right away, one swing, though, like you said.
No.
So, yeah.
Because you can do it really early, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can do it by turn 5, presumably.
So having some synergy, I think, is a good idea. Although I would not build my entire deck around the assumption my deck becomes good once it melded.
Yeah, your deck's actually-
you melded, you're good.
Yeah.
That's the culmination. That's not the first step in the process.
Yeah, it's kind of like jumping to the last battle in Avengers End battle when you start the first movie.
Right.
Sometimes you got to have a couple of battles along the way, and then you're like, now it's time to meld. And I think that's what you're going to want to do, because if you don't become archenemy after doing this, I don't know what's happening at your table outside of everyone threatening, I don't know, maybe go infinite or something.
All right, but still, it's fun to talk about what are some of the things we might build into our deck to synergize with the meld part of this.
Yeah, Strionic Resonator seems
yeah.
the most interesting one because, again, big difference between giving creatures -1/-1 and -2/-2.
Yeah, huge.
that
-2/-2 often just kills everything. like effectively.
Except for like commanders or just some random big things. But yeah, a lot of utility creatures sit at the 2 toughness marker. In general, too, because you're making people discard stuff, this helps if you want to play, again, in your deck. You may also play cards that get stuff out of your graveyard to your battlefield. Yep. And so doing that to other players, there's a couple that will allow you to do it from other players' graveyards, like reanimate and all that good stuff.
I like Strionic too because it does also synergize with your main commander, Mishra. So you can.
That's right. Yeah, you can double that
attack trigger.
Actually, that trigger seems really nice to double because you're making everyone lose twice as much life.
And you're gaining twice as much as you would.
Yikes.
Lithoform Engine is another sort of version of this that recently got reprinted and I think could also go in this deck. And that's the type of synergy I would look for. The synergy that, yes, synergizes with the meld side, but works with the front side of my commander, which is going to more often be important.
Yeah.
Because I know for sure every game I'm going to get the front side of my commander out, but the meld part, it's going to happen more than Bruzella for sure, but not all the time.
You can also play the Might Stone and the Weak Stone, which is a 5-mana artifact. You get to choose one when it enters the battlefield. You either draw 2 cards, give a creature -5/-5, but more importantly, you can tap it to add colorless with the same text that's on the Power Stone. So you can use it to unearth your commander as well. So it's kind of cute. There's a lot of flavor there.
Wouldn't you rather just play Thran Dynamo, though?
Yeah, but you give it kill a creature, get some cards, and have some flavor.
Okay.
The flavor is the most important thing here.
I don't know why our voice got so high-pitched.
I don't think getting lost to Phyrexia is so bad if this is the result.
Yeah, I want to get bound to Phyrexia.
Yeah, find me in Phyrexia.
Man.
Book the next
when
flight.
When did Craig get to you? Tell the truth.
What?
What are you saying?
I got to Craig.
He does the Mission Impossible. It's Craig under there.
I'm starting to leak like oil from my lip. Yeah.
Black oil?
Yeah, black oil. Okay, so that's Mishra. Very, very powerful, obviously. Again, the strategy, I think, is the important part here. You don't want to just instantly do this. Because doing it in the early game when you haven't drained people out enough, they will find a way to come back and just take you out. And then you may have one of those very unfun games. But you do have, you really have to protect the artifact side of this. If they exile the Dragon Engine and you're depending on it to meld, not a great thing. So definitely build more around Mishra. And the same is going to go again for the other 2 commanders to talk about.
All right, so that is the first meld card, but we have 2 more, I guess, meld combinations to talk about, including what might be the most powerful planeswalker of all time. But before we get into that, we got to take a quick break and hear a message from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
So, Jimmy, you excited about the holidays?
Yeah, for the most part. But look, while this time of year is great, it does come with its own set of challenges.
Yeah, that's true. Dealing with family, work, relationships. I mean, geez, even the planning can be pretty stressful.
Yeah, and while there is no user manual for when life gets complicated, there is always the next best thing, therapy.
Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and develop healthy coping skills.
I've been seeing a therapist for years, and having someone to talk to has helped me through all sorts of difficult situations. One thing I've been learning a lot of it is about patience recently. Having a child is very taxing, and going into the holidays with the extra stress, it's important to keep an even keel.
As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable.
Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist.
Learn more and save 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/CommandZone. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/CommandZone.
Avast me hearties, the name's Zara, renegade recruiter, and I'm looking to grow me pirate crew. For years I searched me opponent's measly hands and found only scurvy dogs. But then I started using Indeed, the hiring partner that lets you attract, interview, and hire all in one place. It'd be the only job site where you're guaranteed to find candidates that meet your must-have requirements, or you don't pay a doubloon. Indeed is your first mate at every step of the hiring process, helping to find great talent while saving time with tools like virtual interviews. Plus, there's my favorite part of Indeed, assessments. With Indeed assessments, I know that candidates have already proven their mettle before the interview. By choosing from over 100 skill tests to add to a job post, I can select for only me true perfect crewmates. With Indeed, I have a treasure map to the grandest booty of all, qualified enthusiastic employees. Yar.
Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/CommandZone to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/CommandZone. Again, Indeed.com/CommandZone. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
The holidays are coming up, and that means there's plenty of shopping to do.
Now, a lot of us have friends and loved ones with pretty specific hobbies, and it can be hard to find that perfect gift.
Yeah, but with Etsy, no interest is too obscure.
Etsy has plenty of special presents for everyone on your list, and they're ready to ship for the holidays.
You can shop for jewelry, decor, or personalized gifts, and it's especially good for Magic players. They've got tons of awesome gaming accessories from custom deck boxes to incredible card altars.
We even used Etsy to make the Game Nights Live championship belt.
Now that's about fit for a champion.
With Etsy, it's easy to find gifts that are truly meaningful and for all budgets. Plus, you're always shopping directly from makers, so every purchase supports a small business.
A gift from Etsy just really feels thoughtful. And as they say, it's the thought vessel that counts.
And if they don't say that, they should, because it's a good mana rock.
New to Etsy, use code MERRY10, that's MERRY 10 at checkout for 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's code MERRY10. Maximum value of $50. Offer ends December 31st, 2022. See terms at etsy.com/terms. For gifts of all kinds, Etsy has it. Shop etsy.com. All right, we are back talking about the Meld Commanders. Let's get right to it. It's Urza, Lord Protector. All right, let's read the text.
It's 1 white and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature, Human Artificer. It says artifact, instant, and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
Nice.
And then it has an activated ability. You pay 7 mana, and if you both own and control Urza, Lord Protector, and an artifact named the Mightstone and the Weakstone, exile them, then meld them into Urza Planeswalker. Activate only as a sorcery. And that's kind of a big deal, the only as a sorcery part.
Yeah, we will ignore that second line of text for the first part, because when we talk about the actual melding, then hooray.
Yeah, we're going to do the same thing we did with the Mishra. So let's talk about Urza, Lord Protector. And there's not a ton to say just because it opens you to a bunch of different strategies, but it is just a mana discount on things.
It's a very good mana discount.
For sure, and this is one of the key parts of a lot of artifact decks, is you're trying to play things like Foundry Inspector, Cloud Key, Ethereum Sculptor, these cards that reduce the cost of your artifacts. A lot of artifact decks kind of rely on getting a couple of those effects out, and then all of a sudden it opens up all this crazy stuff you can do where you're basically casting and recasting cards for free because they now cost no mana. So the fact that you can have that piece in your command zone is very powerful.
And not just that, it reduces 3 different types of spells, which makes it really good. Because with Foundry Inspector, Ensemblance Anvil, and Cloud Key, you can only choose one. And so being able to do artifact, instant, and sorcery means I think we're going to see a lot of this Urza just in decks. If you can play white and blue and care at all about these things, like Shorekai, we'll probably find a place for Urza as well. Grand Arbiter Augustin the 4th is going to extra reduce the cost for blue and white spells by 1. So it's a very powerful card. I think it's going to be very good in general. But yeah, you're playing it in this deck to add on to a Foundry Inspector or a Semblance Sample and have things cost 0.
And you're probably mostly artifacty in this deck. You don't have to be, though. I think what you really want is somewhere around 35 or 40 cards total that are artifact, instant, and sorcery.
A lot.
But easy to do. A lot of artifact decks just already have 30 artifacts. So if you just have another 10 instants and sorceries, it becomes very good because it reduces the cost on half the cards in your deck, basically.
Now keep in mind, this is the exact kind of deck that takes very long turns. And
does crazy stuff with Scrap Trawler.
Yeah, Scrap Trawler entering 1,000 times, Mirror Retriever, Junk Diver, Teshar, KCI, Crook, Clan Ironworks. And then you did this a lot actually with your deck. You had Untappers tied to, what was the name of that commander that was in the book?
The one with the background?
Yeah, when the bookshelves around them.
CLB, the Vol, Candlekeep, whatever, researcher.
Which is just, again, trying to add a bunch of mana and cares about artifacts and untappers, because I think you can include easily that package into this deck, too. You're going to have a ton of rocks, so having a Mirren Spy or an Nepheto Alchemist out or a Fate Stitcher or an Emery, there's just so many ways to just get the combos going. And
I mean, Urza makes mana vaults already cost nothing, and that's kind of one of the keys is you go, mana vault for free, tap it for 3, sacrifice it to KCI, get 2 more. Now I've got 5 floating in my artifacts, all cost 1 less. Now I play Mirror Retriever for 1, get the mana vault back, cast it for free. Now I've got 9 mana floating or whatever, those kind of loops. Now I play Scrap Trawler. I do it all again. I do it 3 times.
Down the one,
I do it 57 more times because I clone the Scrap Trawler. Like, that is the kind of thing where you're just like, okay, maybe I'm not infinite, but effectively I have like 1,000 mana. And, we know once you're infinite on mana or have a lot of mana, you can pretty much find a way to end the game. So
yeah, there's plenty of ways to do it. In white and blue, you can mill everyone out. But let's talk about getting to the meld, because in this deck, a big thing to talk about is you can actually tutor out
Yeah.
your Meld card. It's an artifact, and you're in white-blue, so there are lots of ways to find it, and that's going to definitely be a part of how this deck functions, I think.
Similar to Mishra, how Mishra's not going to have any trouble finding that Dragon Engine, Urza's not going to have any trouble finding the Mightstone and the Weakstone, because you have all the tutors that find artifacts. So Enlightened Tutor, Fabricate, then there's stuff like Inventor's Fair. You even have things like War of Invention.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a ton of ways in these colors to find the artifacts you want.
I'm a big fan of Moonsilver Key.
Yeah, that's so good.
2-mana artifact, 1, tap it, sacrifice Moonsilver Key, search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability or a basic land card. You reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. Well, it turns out the Mightstone and the Weakstone has a mana ability at the very bottom, so you can use this. It's just a 3-mana tutor, basically, and it's very, very affordable. You can definitely get it into your decks.
Yeah, there are at least, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 different tutor cards that could find the Mightstone and the Weakstone. So if you don't even have to put all of them in. There's almost too many. You're almost going to be like, that's too many. I only need 7, you know? Because I could also just draw it.
We'll just straight up fabricate. It's a 3-mana sorcery, gets an artifact. So...
yeah, so I don't think it's going to be hard to find the pieces.
Oh yeah, it's a legendary card too, so you can use Thalia's Lancers or Search for Glory, a new favorite of mine, and those both will find, again, a legendary card. Very good stuff.
The nice thing too is the Mightstone and the Weakstone will tap to pay for the activated ability on Urza. Yeah. So it actually works out really well, right? You have to have 5 mana to cast it.
Yeah.
Well, you need 7 mana to activate Urza. So as soon as you cast it, you already had 5 mana. So you now got 7 for sure, even if you don't play a land next turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
It all, I think they designed it on purpose, Josh.
It's almost like they thought of that. That Gavin Verhey, who I'm assuming is probably
responsible.
I don't know if he was.
Well, let's talk
Sorry
about...
to the people that actually were if it wasn't Gavin. That was kind of a joke because we know Gavin, obviously. And
that's true.
Yeah.
I heard he was responsible for every Magic card that's ever existed.
I thought that was Mark Rosewine.
No, it's Gavin now. I'm going to put that burden on his shoulders, see how he likes it. So let's talk about the Mightstone and the Weakstone. So we already mentioned it earlier. It's a 5-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose 1, you get to draw 2, or give a creature -5/-5 until end of turn. And it has a mana ability, tap it, add colors. Can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So I think it's really flexible. It's great. With your commander out, it costs 4, by the way, because it costs 1 less. Maybe even costs like 3 or 2, depending on what you're doing in your deck. I think you want to probably draw cards for the most part, but getting rid of a creature, especially -5/-5, that kills most commanders.
Kills Mishra.
Yeah. Well, not the other side, but yeah, it kills pretty much everything you need it to kill.
Kills unmelded Mishra. That's what I feel like Urza really wants to do most of the time is kill Mishra.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because, Brothers War. Mm-hmm. That was a lore joke, Jimmy.
Was it a joke?
Yeah, haha. Why did you laugh?
Your delivery was like, oh, Josh is getting deep into the lore now.
The Brothers War.
Let's see where
Jimmy.
This one goes.
That's what the set's called.
Bro, I like the fact that the acronym is just
BRO.
bro. Oh, man, you see the car from Pro, bro? It's really good.
I was talking to, this is a tangent a little bit, some Wizards people, and the next set is called All Is One.
Right.
And so its 3-letter code is 1.
Ah.
They said that's really hard to talk about though, because it'll be like, so in that one set, which one?
Which one?
Yeah,
that one. Who's on first?
Yeah.
Oh, we got there. I think the only thing really to talk about the Mightstone and the Weakstone, outside the fact that you can tutor it up really easily, you have a couple options to draw cards or remove something, is that you can play cards like Pull from Eternity in this deck, which I think you do.
Put target face-up card that's removed from the game into its owner's hand, just in case it gets exiled.
Graveyard.
Oh, into its owner's graveyard.
Yeah. If you really, because the backside of it, by the way, when we get to it, is absolutely insane.
The meld is crazy, yeah.
And we always talk about how white blue doesn't have win cons. This is your win con.
So you're saying, like, just as protection from exiling the Mightstone and the Weakstone, you would play Pull from Eternity.
Well, you still have to find a way to get from your graveyard back out. And there are ways in white, but it is a question of whether or not you do that. It seems a little fishy.
I think so, because Mirror Retrievers and Scrap Trawlers and things like that, these are already going to be in the deck.
Artifact Recursion.
So I think your Junk Divers and things like that, you definitely will have no problem getting out of the graveyard. So yeah, it's 1 card. You're in blue, so you can afford a little card disadvantage if it never gets exiled.
True.
So I think you absolutely will play it. I think the other thing to think about is how you're going to play the Mightstone and the Weakstone, then activate it the same turn.
Yeah.
Because this is way harder than Mishra, because there's no unearth haste granting quality to it. You need 7 mana available after you cast a 5-mana thing.
And like Josh said earlier, importantly, only as a sorcery.
Yeah. So you really need to surprise people when it's going to happen, and the best way to do that is it's in your hand. I mean, if you tutored the turn before and you just have 12 lands, they know what's happening.
Yeah.
Right? They're ready for it.
That's why I think you have all those untappers and ways to just generate a bunch of sneaky mana.
Yeah, that's what you really want. You're going to want some crafty stuff so that you can obfuscate the fact that you're about to meld it. Because once you meld it, well, let's read the meld side, Jimmy. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, this is probably the best Planeswalker ever printed. Because it's 2 cards. So Urza, Planeswalker. That's right. It is just, I guess the first Planeswalker? Maybe.
He's just
Planeswalker.
What's your title? Planeswalker.
Nice. So it comes in with 7 loyalty, and its top line is you may activate the loyalty ability of Urza Planeswalker twice each turn rather than only once. Awesome.
That seems pretty good.
All right, there are 5 abilities here, and they all probably will happen. +2. Artifact, instant, and sorcery spells you cast this turn cost 2 less to cast. You gain 2 life. So you can activate that twice, by the way, and make things cost 4 less to cast.
That's insane.
+1. Draw 2 cards and discard a card. Actually kind of weak compared to the rest of these, but still very good. The 0 is create 2 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens. Obviously very good if you have like a sack outlet like Krark Clan or just other ways that trigger when tokens die. Or
Creatures.
-3, exile target non-land permanent. You can
Remember,
do
it comes in with 7, so you can do that twice.
Jeez. And then -10, artifacts and planeswalkers you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Destroy all non-land permanents.
So that is the Silex blast going off. Even destroys the land because it...
No, non-land.
Oh, non-land.
Yeah. That would be crazy.
It causes an Ice Age.
Yeah, it causes Ice Age. But your artifacts and Urza himself get to be indestructible. So if you are able to play this and +2 it twice, this goes to 11, which means that you are able to hit the ultimate on Urza.
Crank it to 11.
Yeah.
Is that the quote?
Yeah, this one goes to 11.
11.
This one goes to 11.
Oh, that's what it is.
So I think if you're doing the thing, you're generating tons of mana, get a little colored mana in there. Time Warp now costs, by the way, just blue. Expropriate only costs 5 mana. So it seems pretty doable.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'll say is you paid 7 mana to meld this thing.
But if you're generating, like you said, literal infinite, a second earlier, right? You get the whole thing going.
If you're able to do the KCI thing, it's not going to be that hard. But in that case, I don't know that the discount even really matters.
True. That's a good point.
So you're probably doing some other, one of the other.
Yeah, you untap the Mana Vault a couple of times.
Yeah.
You just have barely enough to generate. Because in this case, Time Warp plus Urza is 9 mana.
Here's the thing. Urza's got 7 loyalty. If you +2 him twice.
Goes to 11.
It goes to 11 and very likely to be around when it comes back to your turn.
Yeah.
Because they have to be able to deal a lot of damage to it. And if there's a lot of attackers, you're going to 0 it and create blockers. And it's still going to be at 7.
Yeah.
It's just, again, this is a deck that, not again. We didn't even say this. So Lexi,
that's right.
the Queen, this is the deck she is playing or has played, depending on the release schedule, in the latest episode of Game Nights. And another deck that we got to see in action when the decks were getting tested and stuff. And
it's hard to kill Urza.
If Urza melds and is on the Planeswalker side, that's the thing we learned. It's going to probably live. It's not a shoo-in that you can just get to it. Because usually regular Planeswalkers have like 4 loyalty or so if you use them for their good stuff. And somebody can get to it, or you can throw enough stuff at it, you can remove a creature. But 11's a lot. So oftentimes it just comes down plus twice, maybe cast 1 instant.
Gets chipped away at a little bit.
Yeah, and you get back to your turn and you're like, yeah, it's at 3 or 4, but now I plus twice, and now I have a ton of mana because that discount is all instants and sorceries you cast that turn.
Yeah, and it stacks.
And so now Time Warp's insane because it's 2 mana, and not only that, you're going to untap with an Urza with 11 or something loyalty, but also you cast 2 or 3 more instants or sorceries that same turn you cast Time Warp.
Yeah, obviously very busted. At that point, you should be able to ultimate it or whatever. If you just +2 it twice, you can also, by the way, just cast a lot of things from your hand. Phyrexian Metamorph now costs 0. Solemn Simulacrum, Joylor's Familiar. So you don't even need to mine or put 0 to put creatures out. You can just cast them. Yeah.
And white is also, they protect myself color. So
that's right.
Stuff that happens with that ultimate can be like Teferi's Protection. It can be Flawless Maneuver. It can be Cosmic Intervention. There's a whole bunch of things that you get to the ult, which is honestly not that difficult to do because you often untap with him and you take a couple extra turns and you ult and protect your entire board, and that's just game over. Because you're like, everybody else has nothing. I still kept everything.
Yep.
And
pumping
this
out
active
tokens.
Planeswalker.
Yeah, it's only going up. You could do it again because people aren't going to be able to kill it. There are more Planeswalker removal spells than ever. Bouncing is also very good against a card like this because it'll dissipate.
Chain of Vapors, Capsize, something like that.
So just I'd say get ready for that.
But you're in blue.
This deck.
It is not that hard to protect it, and generally people aren't holding open multiple removal spells for a Planeswalker. So really, it is not that easy to get rid of the Urza.
Yeah, and it counts as your Planeswalker, so you can cast the cards like Fierce Negation.
Fierce
Guardianship. Yeah, sorry.
You can cast Force of Negation too, though.
You could.
That's a good card, I heard.
Also, I probably think you play Dramatic Reversal and Astrakhan Scepter in this kind of deck if you want to do the thing and win.
If you want to do the thing.
You want to do the thing. This is
Congratulations,
the deck.
we broke Dramatic Scepter.
It's the deck to do it in. Or you could Cyclonic Rift costs so cheap too when you overload it. Man, it's just nuts. Urza Planeswalker, crazy.
It's a good card.
All right,
we got one more left.
Titania, Voice of Gaia.
All right, I'll read it. It is 1 green for a 3/4 legendary creature. Elemental has reach. Whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2 life.
Hey.
And then the meld part is at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more land cards in your graveyard, and you both own and control Titania, Voice of Gaia, and a land named Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, exile them, then meld them into Titania, Gaia Incarnate.
Okay, so this is like Hammer Garrison where it melds with a land card, which is great because that means that land is much more protected from exile effects, in general, removal effects, but people can still strip mine and all that, but it's a little better than an artifact or a creature like with Mishra and Urza.
What I will say, though, that makes this harder, and I think it's closer to Bruzella as far as difficulty and the amount that we're going to see it melded, is that this is going to happen on your upkeep as a trigger. And the other two, you can sort of ambush people with it. You can blindside them with it. They can not think it's coming and it can happen. There's no way really for Titania to do that because they're going to get some time. So they're going to see the land get played on your main phase because you can't really play lands during other times. There's a few tricks you can pull there, but yep. And then they know Titania's in your command zone. So even if you had Vidalcan Warrior or something like that, everybody can see sort of what's about to happen. Because you can't say, play it, activate something, do it now. You have to wait until an upkeep. Yeah,
fortunately, this card is not as scary as the other two, so I think people won't be as worried. But anytime you take a card and turn it into 2, it'll look intimidating enough. But let's talk about that first part. So a lot of different cards can go to your graveyard that are lands. Wasteland, Strip Mine, Dust Bowl, Tectonic Edge. Demolition Field's a new one. Let's read this one. So these are all cards that basically get rid of other lands, but now they gain you 2 life. You can tap Demolition Field to add a colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap it. Sacrifice Demolition Field, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. That land's controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle. And you may also search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle.
This is a cool card.
Yeah, because you're replacing your own land. Typically with these ones, it's like, I'm down a land. I can no longer tap my wasteland for mana because it's in the graveyard.
Yeah. This is just like, listen, I don't like your land. Let's just give you a fair land.
Yeah.
And then I'll get a fair land and everybody will be happy, right?
Yep. It's good design. I like it a lot, especially for Commander.
Yeah. Even just fetch lands, right? Fetch lands.
Yep.
You lose a life when you use them.
Now you're gaining
a life. Yeah, because you lose the 1, but you gain 2.
If you fetch out a shock land, typically it's a loss of 3 life. Now you're actually just losing 1 life total.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah, it's actually really, really good. Obviously, when you're putting a bunch of lands to the graveyard, you also have cards like Zurin Orb that sack lands to gain 2 life, so you're getting 4 life every time. World Shaper, every time it attacks, you mill 3 cards, and then when it dies, you return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. I think you're going to run a couple of effects like Splendor Reclamation and all that to get that to happen. And this might be the deck where you kill some with Aetherflux Reservoir. This
might be the deck? You mean no other decks do that?
No other decks do it, but this one definitely... Because you just
This would be the non-Bolas's Citadel deck that might kill you with Aetherflux Reservoir?
It's pretty good, though.
Just because you don't have to cast a lot of spells. Your life might just be high enough.
Just naturally going to be high enough. And then you instead of having to combo off 6 spells in a row, you're like, all right, cast 2 spells. I'm at 45 now. Sack a couple of lands. Just keep counting upwards.
Interesting.
Obviously, Life from the Lone Scape Shift, Joriel are all ways to get lands in your graveyard. And opposite, you're going to like this one. Shigeki, yeah.
I like that card a lot.
Yeah, I think Shigeki is just a card that you put into a lot of decks.
Yeah, because it's sort of like a slow rampant growth over and over, but it also has that channel ability where you can sort of regrowth cards from your deck, multiple cards, non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. So I just like the utility of that card. Works in two vastly different situations. Good early game, good late game.
Yep. And then you got Harrow, crop rotation, so just ways to sacrifice lands to get more value out of them. I think all of those are just worthy additions to a deck that cares about putting lands in the graveyard and finding fun ways to put them back out.
Well, crop rotation I want to pause here and talk about because that is one of the things I was referring to as one of the few tricky ways to blindside your opponent.
Oh, that's right.
And get them meld when they don't expect it. So if Titania is out, but Argoth is not,
The land.
then your opponents are not worried, right? Because you got to play a land pretty much during your main phase. We're going to see it, then it has to come back around to your upkeep.
Yeah.
So if I'm an opponent and I see Titania, fine, it's fine, right? Everything's fine. Nothing crazy is going to happen. They're just doing land shenanigans, whatever. But crop rotation's an instant, allows you to sack any of your lands and then find Argoth and put it into play at instant speed. And that's the thing you can do on the end step before your turn.
Yep.
Which they're like, oh crap, we weren't ready for that. Meld.
Hooray!
So that is, one of the sort of few ways to do that kind of thing at instant speed. You can probably pull off some other stuff with Vidalcan Orrery and some similar cards.
But there's cards that also you can tap it to put a land card from your hand on the battlefield.
Yep.
So there's that whole world of
but
things
they'll
too.
see that card, right?
Sure.
And they'll probably suspect that's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, if they don't, then I don't know if they know what deck they're playing against.
They deserve what they're about to get.
Now, in the 99 Titania, I think it's just a pretty good card because it's kind of like reverse landfall. It's land cards entering the graveyard, giving you a trigger. So Soul of Windgrace likes it. Gitrog Monster, the Sidisi from the Sultai one as well. They're all milling stuff in the graveyard. I really like the new Hazazon, Shaper of Sand, because it plays with deserts.
Oh, yeah.
And all the deserts basically put themselves into the graveyard as part of its ability.
Yeah.
And so Hazazon obviously is going to be doing that already. You play Titania in that deck, gain a bunch of life on top of it.
It has to be... I got to reread the card. Does it have to go from the graveyard to... Or sorry, from the battlefield to the graveyard?
Anywhere.
Oh, from anywhere. Yeah, that's awesome. So cycle lands and stuff also just sort of incidentally gain you life. That's
Yep.
cool. And you're going to play all the cycle lands in this deck too because Argoth and the Meld care about the fact that you have lands in your graveyard. Yeah.
And speaking of which, you probably just do play Argoth in the same decks that you're playing Titania too.
Yeah, let's read Argoth here. Sanctum of Nature. It's a land. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary green creature.
Okay.
Not
sure.
that hard in our format.
No.
Any deck you're going to play it in, there will be a legendary green creature that you have access to all the time.
It's true.
It taps to add green, or you can pay 2 green, tap it, and create a 2/2 green bear creature token, then mill 3 cards. You can only activate that as a sorcery. So, Graham, you're welcome, another bear creator.
Yeah, that's right. That card's actually very good in Ayula, but Argoth reminds me a lot of Castle Lockthwain, Castle Vantress. They're both lands that could come in untapped, and they have an ability tied to them, and you play those cards in decks. Now, 2 green to make a bear and mill 3 is not amazing, but I think if you're going to play Titania in a deck, you probably just want to stick Argoth in there.
Makes sense to me because the cost is so low. You, like I said, even if it's not your commander, you have a commander that has green in it.
Yeah.
So Argoth has a really good chance of coming into play untapped, and the upside of like, well, if I happen to draw Titania, then
Yeah, just create a massive
I
crazy
think
beast.
you have to have enough fetch lands and things because remember, you do have to have those 4 lands in the graveyard to meld.
Yeah.
So if your deck doesn't have a reasonable ability to get some of its lands into the graveyard, then maybe you wouldn't play it. That's all I can think of, yeah.
Yep. Now, if you're playing just the Titania deck and you want to fetch out Argoth, just like the other colors, by the way, and the other commanders, they all can do it. In this case, green is great at finding lands. You just have Expedition Map, but you also have Sylvan Scrying, Nylea's Intervention, Reap and Sow, Template Discovery. Just a lot of different ways to find a specific land. Harrow, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, a lot of green ramp stuff can only find basic lands, but green is also the color that can find any land, and it usually puts that in your hand rather than onto the battlefield. Some do. But that's sort of the downside, but that's okay. You just play it as your land for turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to talk about the new card because this opens up a new line of play, which is Root Path Purifier, 3 in the green for a 3/4 elf druid. It's a creature from Brothers War and says lands you control and land cards in your library are basic. Now, that doesn't mean simple. That means they just have the basic subtype. So you'll see on...
It doesn't mean simple.
It doesn't mean simple.
I'm not insulting the lands, okay?
Yeah. So that means if you have Root Path Purifier out, when you cast Rampant Growth, search your library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, you can grab Argoth with it.
You can grab any land,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, pretty much, because they all have the basic subtype. Now, it
I'm
doesn't
going to
work...
go get my guy's cradle or something probably, yeah.
Now, it doesn't work with fetch lands because fetch lands will say find a basic island or swamp or something. That doesn't work, but...
It would work with like a Triome or something that already had island, though.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't find Argoth, yeah.
Wouldn't find Argoth, but Prismatic Vista now can. Fabled Passage can. Evolving Wilds can. And you can actually have, with Root Path Purifier out, you can have Prismatic Vista find Fabled Passage, finding Evolving Wilds, finding Argoth, gaining you 6 life in the process, putting 3 lands in the graveyard. So that's another way to get someone out of nowhere. Because you can have Argoth out, but like he doesn't have 4 lands in his graveyard. How's he going to do that?
This is interesting, and I wanted to do a little tangent here. Back in Commander Legends a few years ago, we had the privilege of helping them play test.
Oh, that's right. Is this?
Yeah, so the original Kodama, I believe, had a line very similar. Now, they eventually changed it, but in a very early version, it said lands you control and land cards in your library are all basic land types or something.
Right.
Something like that. And that was the play pattern we learned with that Kodama, was you would get Valakut somewhere in there and then just fetch for other fetch lands.
Yeah.
And since all the fetch lands were also basic mountains, they would, as you were fetching for one, they would do the damage.
Oh, I see. So you
but
just
fetching for another fetch land into another fetch land is a very powerful way to get a lot of lands into your graveyard and gain the life and stuff. They found a better version of this and also didn't put it on Legendary Creature, which I think is smart.
Thank goodness. Yeah,
But
we'll
cool-
talk more about this card too in our set review, but it's a very interesting card.
Cool play patterns with it for sure.
Yeah, but that's, again, another way to surprise people. There's no way he's going to get 4 lands in there by the
That's
next
a really good
turn.
point.
Yeah, so it's like, aha, but I've got this thing. And fetch them all out, and they're like, holy crap, he just put 4 lands in his graveyard. Nuts.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
All right, let's read the cool part of Titania, the melded side, which is Titania Gaia Incarnate. It is a legendary creature elemental avatar with power and toughness star. It has vigilance, reach, trample, and haste. It says Titania Gaia Incarnate's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Hey, it's like Gaia's Liege, which is one of my original favorite cards.
The original.
Yeah,
I love that card.
When Titania enters the battlefield, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Tap.
Yikes.
So it's going to be at least 4, because you have to have 4 in there to even meld her in the first place. So it just ramps you by 4 automatically. Man, if you do the fetch land into fetch land thing, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's really nuts.
And you can pay 3 and a green and put 4 1/1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. Again, that's 3 and a green colon. So if you have 8 mana, you can do that twice. 12 mana, do it 3 times.
Yeah, that part's not as impressive as the other parts. And actually, Titania, compared to the other melded cards,
Definitely not on the level of Urza or
Mishra.
Trifexia. Yeah.
so that's why, it's not as powerful, but it still is pretty good because bringing all those lands back, it's what Splendor Reclamation does. It's a good effect, especially because I think sometimes you're not but just have 4. You're going to have like 10, 11,
for sure.
12 lands. You've been life from the loaming all game or whatever it is.
Yeah, and this is a trigger that's going to go on the stack. So if you have Zernorb, you can just be like, all right, trigger goes on stack. In response, sack everything.
It's going to be nuts. And you also have a new card. Hooray, new card alert, Titania Nature's Forest, 4 green for a 6/6. It says you may play forest from your graveyard, and then it also says whenever a forest enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/3 green elemental creature token. And whenever an elemental you control dies, you may mill 3 cards. So this is, again, massive lands coming in. Let's say half of them are forests. You make 5/5/3s. Those are untapped. You can give those haste. Woohoo!
Yeah, geez. I'm just thinking if you play Titania and you manage to meld, and that trigger goes on the stack and you have strip mines and wastelands and stuff.
Oh, yeah, you use them all, or if they've not already been used.
It's just going to go real bad for your opponents right
Yeah,
then.
not to mention if you have like an Amulet of Vigor in your deck, and then they all come back untapped. Yeah, it's pretty...
Oh, you could tap them, float the mana,
Yeah.
sack them, and then they come back. All kinds of cool stuff you can do. I agree, not as powerful as Mishra and Urza, but still can be extremely powerful. It's interesting that it's less powerful and harder to do than the other two.
Yeah, much harder to sneak that one in. But now you have so much landfall. How are you going to use it to win the game? Rampaging Baloths, Scoot Swarm are ways to get creatures out of it. Tireless Provisioner will give you treasure tokens. Woohoo!
Or food, Jimmy.
Or food.
What if I'm hungry?
Don't
make the food. Make treasure every time. What are you doing?
Yeah, unless you really want more life gain all of a sudden. I don't think so. But you also have the lands now, so Amulet of Vigor is very good to untap everything. And you have like Kamal's Will, Sylvan Awakening, Rude Awakening. Those
Turn
are all
all
ways
the
to turn
creatures.
all the creatures. Yeah, because otherwise you just have a shell of stuff happening. But this is a way to make sure that when you have it happen, you're already putting lands on the battlefield. You care about landfall, and you want to make some more creatures.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, Titania has Vigilance, Reach, Trample, and Haste. Let's say this thing is like a 20/20. Play Unnatural Growth in this deck. 1 green enchantment. At the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn.
You really only need to get it high enough to kill him with commander damage, I suppose, if it's your commander. So that could be a thing where if you crop rotation and surprise them. You
Oh,
could
that's
be
right, add
killing
some extra
people
stuff.
out of nowhere.
Totally.
Because they don't see it coming, and then you're like, oh yeah. And it also, by the way, it's 22-22. Sorry.
Yeah. It's pretty fair
With haste.
magic, honestly. So I think, again, in the 99, you put Titania in any deck, you probably put Argoth in with her. There's no reason not to. If you're playing Soul of Windgrace, Gitrog Monster.
Yeah, I don't know if Gitrog wants it just because that deck's pretty optimized already, and I don't think it cares about the life gain that
Sure,
much.
and people will probably be like, oh, Gitrog, I know what's going to happen.
But the ability to just meld is cool, and also bring back all your lands is a legitimate thing that those decks do want to do. So
Yeah, it's
I
a
can
fun,
see go
it's a
either
fun
way.
alternate win con, I think, too,
Yeah.
if you just want to do the Timmy version of Titania.
All right, that's going to do it for our Meld episode for the Brothers War. To the listeners, what do you think of the new Meld Commanders? Are you planning to build any of them? Are there any synergies or combos you see for any of these cards that we didn't talk about? Let us know in the comments on Twitter, in our Discord. You can send us an email about it if you want to.
Yeah, and we talked about a lot of cards today. Maybe you just want to get Argoth Sanctum of Nature because you have an Ayula deck.
Oh, that'd be cool.
If you want to do that, head on over to cardkingdom.com/command. That's our affiliate link, and you're going to visit Card Kingdom. You're going to enter a promo code, and guess what? You get a shop to your heart's delight and get all the cards you want to make your Magic decks even more cool than they were moments ago. And I say moments ago because when you order Card Kingdom, staffers will get hard to work in getting your order shipped to you quickly, efficiently, and at the exact quality you order. I've never seen better grading, too, I will say.
They're very generous, yeah.
Yeah, it's like near mint all the way to, plate or whatever. You can choose and you can see the price differences and everything. It's a great way to shop because if you're like, you know what, I don't need near mint everything. I just need the card. You can find a cheaper version too. So another reason I love Card Kingdom, cardkingdom.com/command. Really easy to browse and shop and just sometimes buy whole decks sometimes. That's what I do.
Yeah, and they're really nice people. If you ever have a problem, they'd go above and beyond to fix it. That's another thing.
Yes, they're
I
a
think is
real
great.
company. They're not a bunch of sellers spread out. It's
Yeah.
a single entity, and that makes a difference when making sort of bigger orders.
And of course, once you get your hands on these cards, you are going to want to make sure you protect them. The game accessories brand that Jimmy and I, we trust our own collections to, is Ultra Pro. They really do make the best stuff to protect all of your game pieces. Eclipse sleeves, satin tower deck boxes, really nice play mats. They even have things like Eclipse dice and wall scrolls. You should go to ultrapro.com/command. You can see their own direct-to-consumer store there. There's all kinds of stuff. Of course, we always say support your LGS. It's important to support your local gaming community. And if you can, they're going to carry Ultra Pro products, and you buy it from there, and everybody wins. Your LGS wins, Ultra Pro wins. We're happy. But there's stuff that your LGS just doesn't carry, or they're sold out of, or whatever, that you might only be able to find on the website. And as we always talk about, ultrapro.com/command also often has a lot of discounts, so that you can find really good deals and prices. So yeah.
Also stuff like a binder that's colored red.
Yeah.
Sometimes your LGS just doesn't have it.
Yep.
So you can go to the Ultra Pro website. You can find a great deal there.
And you can put all your blue cards in it.
I don't know about that. ultrapro.com/command, though, is the place to do it.
And then, of course, remember, support our Patreon, patreon.com/commandzone.
Please do it.
Yep. Okay. This is our normal cleanup step, and we wanted to make a kind of sad announcement here.
But a special announcement, and one that is very heartfelt to us.
Yeah, so Ashlen Rose, longtime team member here at the Command Zone, has let us know that she is going to be moving on from our team and our staff, and she's got some new career opportunities that she's going to take advantage of,
Which we're really excited for, by the way.
Yeah, which
Very,
we
very
think is
excited.
great, and we're very excited for. Obviously, it's sad for us and our fans. She's been with us for over 4 years now, has been a member of our team almost since the very beginning. And a lot of the reason that we've enjoyed a lot of growth and success are because of Ashlen. She's just had her hands in so many things around here. So it's definitely sad to see that she's going to go. We are excited for her new opportunities, and of course we wish her the best. And she is going to still be around. She still lives not far from the office. She's going to still appear in our content sometimes, but day to day, she's not going to be on our staff anymore. And we just wanted to make sure that we gave her a nice shout out here and thanked her for her tenure and all the hard work she's done at the Command Zone, and give everybody out there a chance to, let her know how you feel about her.
Yeah, in the comments, put in your favorite Ashlen Rose memory, like the time that she countered my 11 drop with Eldrazi and murdered me.
And me, by the way, as well, the same game.
Don't forget, to throw some love towards Ashlen. Obviously there's a ton that goes on behind the scenes at the Command Zone that you don't see. We get amazing compliments about our thumbnails or our tweets that have great engagement. Ashlen is the mastermind behind a lot of those, and she's really helped guide and direct that vision for a long time too. So we're very, very grateful for all that she's provided the show over the years.
Yeah, she's been here so long. She's worn so many hats at our company. She's done a little bit of everything. She's involved in everything from graphic design to our social media,
to our Kickstarter, to customer support,
to the names of some of our shows and episodes. She's involved in the whole creative process. Yeah, just so many hats, so much responsibility, and she's just done so much for us in our community. So we can't thank her enough. We can't help but wish her the best. We hope you will as well.
The next company she's going to is very lucky to have her. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, we're definitely sad to see her go, but we wish her the best, and we hope you will too. Okay. We also have to thank the rest of our team who are still here and doing a great job. Damon Lenz.
Hey, don't leave us. It's heart-wrenching.
Damon Lenz, Arthur Meadowcroft, Lady Danger, Manson Lung, Craig Blanchett, Josh Murphy, Jake Boss, Patrick Nan, Jordan Pridgeon, Sam Waldo, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Mitch Trafford, and Evan Limburger. And I want to give a special shout out. We have 3 new members of the Command Zone team. So Gabriel Pozos, Megan Yip, and Eric Lem. Welcome to the team, and thanks for all your hard work so far. And then big shout out to Truck Ty, who helped us with the research for all of the Brothers War stuff.
Yeah, all right, everyone, get out there and get Meldin. It's a fun time.
All right, everybody, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Thank you for your attention. For further inquiries, send an email to commandcast@rocketjump.com or ask us on Twitter @JFWong and @JoshLeeQuai. See you later, alligator.
Greetings, humans.